Helium 10 keeps finding me 10 out of 10, no pun intended, product ideas to sell on Amazon. And I wanted to share my personal filters that I've been using with you, how to find a product idea with Helium 10, specifically for made in the USA, like products that you can source from a US manufacturer. And all you have to do is go to tools and then black box. And this, I used to be a big fan of keywords. Lately, I've been having a lot of success just right on the products tab. And there will be a link in the description to get Helium 10 for 10% off for life or 20% off for 6 months using my promo code Savage 10 or Savage 6M20. You just use the link in the description. It's an affiliate link. But so here we go. We're going to go into categories. I'm going to start right on categories. And this is actually a big part of where I've been able to be successful, is knowing what categories to choose. Now you can copy these if you want. I really like arts, crafts, and sewing because I'm looking for customers who want to spend money. Patio, lawn, and garden, it's a really good one this time of year. Tools and home improvement. Now you can do pets and supplies, sports and outdoors, toys and games and stuff. There are decent product ideas in there. I just find the products that are most likely to be sourced locally tend to come from these areas. Like there's a lot of like gardening companies in the United States for sourcing gardening materials. Same thing with tools and home improvement. Not so much the utility based tools, but a lot of the like adhesives or balms or what have you in there. And then arts, crafts, and sewing, again, a lot of wooden products, a lot of things that can be made in the USA, lots of craft glues or that type of stuff is really easy to source here. So anyway, I'm going to just pick those 3 categories. Now review count, I actually do put a minimum. I like to see 50 reviews. That tends to show listings that are out of their initial scaling phase. And so the revenue that they're making tends to be more profitable and consistent and reminiscent of a market in which you're actually going to succeed long term in, not just like have a great launch in, because that's not really all we want to do. And then review count, I'm going to do a max of 999, which I will go above. I compete against sellers with like 15,000 reviews. On the top of my page, I'm ranked like number 8. They might be ranked number 2 or 3 or something, 1 or 2. And so it's not that you can't compete with those, and that'll be one of the first things that we change if we do run out of ideas, which we likely won't. Lately, I've just been finding ideas kind of right away. And so I'm going to go for like 30 to 77. This price range, when we start talking about 30% margins, actually has you making $10 plus, $15 plus a sale. And so when you start doing those 25 sales a day, 30 sales a day, you actually are able to make 10 grand, 12 grand, 15 grand a month in profit selling products, especially when we add that our revenue up and then that price range. And so speaking of revenue, there's 2 different options here. There's parent level revenue and then ASIN revenue. Parent level is referring to a listing that has variations, and we just want a listing that, excuse me, any individual, even if it is a variation, any individual ASIN, so just one product, has a revenue of 25,000 plus. And then let's just start with 65,000. So we're going to go 25,000 to 65,000. That's per product. And then number of images, max of 5. That's not ridiculous by any means. You can do really strict on this, like max of 3 images, and that'll get you really bare bones listings. But again, we're going to start a little bit broader. If we need to narrow it, we can always do that after. And so typically what's been happening is I have been finding product ideas within the first page recently. Like seriously, it's been that easy. So let's look through here. Tree fertilizer spikes. Okay, I'll open that in a new tab. I just command click it. Here's a good example of 4 products where I would just immediately stay away from because it's going to be hard to source these things. Products that, well, maybe not hard to source, but hard to create a new version of that a customer would be more likely to purchase than what's already there. You have to go through big, expensive R&D processes with utility-based products like this. Like, how would I customize this or any one of these things? It just seems like a nightmare. Like, how do I explain that? I don't know how to do that. Versus, okay, actually something like this, pretty good example. Sludge away, pond sludge remover. Pretty good example, right? Because I can change the recipe, create a custom bottle. The customer is buying a bottle. They're not buying a new utility. And so essentially I just use a marketing term and solve the main problem that they want to create the clear option in a market that's likely full of other bottles that look like that, really antiquated looking packaging. And then I just come in with something modern and aesthetically pleasing, and they essentially just buy my packaging. Plus it's easier to source. So it's a win-win really. Freshwater food grade diatomaceous earth, 50 pounds. So that's $26 fee at $60, plus it's 50 pounds, plus you have to ship it. That one's probably not going to work for those very reasons. But we'll go on to page 2. Right now we're just doing 25 rows a page, that's fine. And hopefully you guys enjoy these style of videos. Let me know down in the comments below if you are interested in more over-the-shoulder content, unscripted, just doing product research and stuff like this. I know typically a lot of you do like this kind of stuff just to maybe test where you're at and see where your thinking aligns with mine. And not that mine is right all the time, but I have been selling on Amazon since 2018. And I've sold almost 20 private label products, and now I own a Made in the USA Amazon FBA brand, which we are in the process of driving external traffic to scale outside of Amazon to become not just a FBA brand. Right now we have like 90% of our sales being made from Amazon and like 10% from our website. And we're just trying to keep growing our customer email list. We have about 1,000 emails now. We're doing blog posts, and we just had an influencer with actually 100,000 subscribers on YouTube post about our video about our product. That was incredible. Literally just last week. I haven't even talked to you guys about that yet. And it drove a bunch of sales. We collected over like 100 emails. Our page traffic just flew through the roof. And that's likely a relationship we're going to be able to keep pouring more gas on. That's a weird thing to say about a relationship. But yeah, I just want to make her almost like an exclusive ambassador. Be really good to her with sending lots of free product and maybe doing more giveaways, stuff like that. So that's just a little bit of my background and what I'm working on at the moment. Okay, so these are a quick detour here. Any one of these are likely good product ideas that'll make a lot of money. You just have a really high investment cost because of the EPA registry that's going to come into selling an herbicide. So something like that, you're probably looking at the fees being, 15, 20 grand to get into a market like that before you're sourcing the product itself. Just on those fees and the licenses to sell a dangerous goods product like that. So for some of you that might be like, okay, cool. And for others, it's like, no way. I tend to be more on the no way side of things. I don't love spending money, even though I'm an entrepreneur. I tend to have always bootstrapped stuff and do it at lower startup costs. Just a little bit of my own personal risk tolerance. But so this one's interesting. So FBA fees are $9. Why is the FBA fee so high? Because it's only 2 ounces. So that's kind of weird. Maybe the referral fee, 15% of that is $3.15. It was like $5 and then $4. I guess that makes sense. Okay, let's check that out. See, that's a good example of a product that I want to cover what they did actually. Okay, we saw this one maybe last summer. Polymeric sand. I think I used that as an example at one point. Let's check that out as well. Okay, cool. So let's actually go straight to that wildflower seeds. What do we notice that is kind of upsetting about the listing? Personally, they never show the flowers. I mean, come on, you could even get a royalty-free photo of some flowers from like wildflowers. Like, put that on the listing. Like, why aren't there flowers on the listing? That's kind of weird. Nonetheless, they're selling $48,000 right now. Somewhat of a seasonal product, no doubt. But, okay, this is what I wanted to talk about. Some of you have asked about selling in really simple markets where you can't really differentiate. Wildflower seeds would be one of them. So how do you differentiate? Packaging, type of wildflowers, meaning like number, like, okay, I could do 100 wildflowers, and then number of seeds. But look at this, save the bees. So they don't actually, I thought it was going to be like, I opened this because I was like, oh, that's so smart. They're going to do a donation to some type of organization to save bees. They don't. They're just saying the flowers will help save the bees. So if I was this brand, I would have A, flowers on the listing, and B, we'd be donating a percentage of profits to bees, right? Because what am I trying to say? Yeah, the cause behind your brand can be a differentiating factor. And so let me show you what I mean by that. If we search wildflower seeds, there's no doubt just a bunch of seeds, right? And then we're inevitably going to see theirs. And what's the first thing that catches your eye? It's not the flowers, because we've already become somewhat dulled to flowers. We've seen them all over the place. It's this. So I actually really like that they're doing that. And I think that's a good idea for something you can do in just about any market, that the product itself is really simple. You don't know how to differentiate it. Differentiate yourself with a great cause. And I have a great brand case study to show you on this, which would be Who Gives a Crap USA. Check this out. I mean, maybe you've seen this in your local grocery store or something like that. They're a toilet paper brand that donates 50% of profits to clean water and sanitation. Okay? 50%. And so all they did is, it's just toilet paper, but they made a really cool brand with a great name, good designs, and then they have a really good cause. So that's it. And the cause is more apparent on their homepage. Access to clean water in a toilet. Over 12 million. Oh, you all put a sorry in the comment section or something. You know, when the sneeze goes away, that's not a good feeling. And then they have a exit intent. So $10 off. And it's a subscription, so it makes a lot of sense. Cool. So 12 million to date. That give or take means they made about $12 million themselves. That's about half of their profits. So pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. So you can always sell in these boring markets with a cause. And so that don't forget that tip. That's a good one. And because I know a lot of you have been commenting about how to differentiate yourself in markets where you can't really differentiate the product with a cause. Okay, so we're getting a lot of the same vibe here. Now keep in mind, I do think that fertilizer tends to be one of those markets where you're going to have that EPA issue. But this is where I don't have total expertise in this matter. Look into whether you could sell something like this, because this is like the market itself, especially this right here, 6 pounds for $39, and they're doing $1,000 a month as the second organic listing. That's a really, really good sign. Granted, is it probably a little seasonal? Is it yet? Yeah, but the customer who's buying this is going to be susceptible to a good cause, brand new packaging in a market that looks like crap. It's kind of a no-brainer. And then so another thing I wanted to show you, and this is included in your Helium 10 subscription. So do you see what I mean now when I'm like, oh, all of these ideas are good? Some of them I click off almost right away, but then other ones I'm like, no, like any one of these could work. There's just immense opportunity around. And so when you open up X-ray on this market, the total revenue for the market is a little bit of a hack I've been using too. 1 to 3 million is perfect. So this is like dead on in there, 1.8 million. And then that's one of the ways I judge whether I'd be willing to invest time in creating a brand in a market. And that's monthly volume. And so a $2 million market is doing $24 million a year. And so you can see how now divvying up that market share, you start owning 2.5–5% of a market, how you become a 7-figure brand selling one product or 2 products in the same market. And then coming back to, well, who's searching for this? What else? What other problems do they have? And we could see like Miracle-Gro is a great example of a big brand who's done this all over, where it's just if there is a product that people buy that has demand, they make it. And they just make it at scale. They take advantage of their size. They get their prices down, and they put one everywhere. They just have mediocre listings, mediocre product, but they have one of everything that every gardener for anything is ever looking for. So we can't do that, but what we can do as small brands and new sellers is be disruptive. We can come into a market where we defy the status quo with something new and exciting that delivers the same cause the customer is looking for, or the same purpose, I should say, in a completely new way. And so I can take, give me 1 second. Give me a 3D rendering of a package for tree fertilizer spikes. Make the branding appeal to, I'm going to say, farmhouse gardeners. I feel like it'll pick up on that. And let's just see what happens. We'll let that load really quick. Okay, check that out. So farmhouse garden, it's actually a decent brand name. Tree fertilizer spikes. It did something that I would recommend everyone do on their product packaging, which is put the main search term as the biggest thing. And then it actually gave a value prop, which is promotes vigorous root development and 10 spikes. Here's another one, promotes vigorous root development, farmhouse tree fertilizer spikes. Brand is just called Farmhouse in this one. And it kind of gave me this like plain brown packaging, but with like a really cool bohemian feel to it, farmhouse feel to it. And then we can just see how, if I were to take something like that and bring it into this market, I like to like drag them in, but it's not really worth it. You could picture what that would look like anywhere in here and how effective that would be versus kind of what's here. And then one thing you can do is even with contrast, play around with, well, it's green and brownish, and that's kind of similar to this. So you could ask like, oh, instead I like this, but can you change the color palette to be opposite of green is what, like purple? Maybe something more like purple inspired, or something like that. So yeah, Helium 10's been kicking a ton of butt. We went through like one page for 10 minutes. Well, the whole video is like 10 minutes long. We went like literally probably spent 3 minutes looking for product ideas. And those are some of the things that I came up with. By the way, any one of those wildflower, tree fertilizer spikes, the things that you really easily can find when you go to thomasnet.com and source from the US. So kind of making good on that promise, finding those products you could sell in the US. Again, comes down to the category. So that's going to do it for today's video. Thanks so much for sticking around. If you need any additional help, I do offer one-on-one coaching down using the link in the description on Patreon. I also have a Savage Sellers course and community that you can join. Also on Patreon, everything is just with the link in the description if you need any additional help. But other than that, thanks so much for being here. Hopefully you found this one helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.